What's up guys, it's Z here. Welcome back to Met Again, the series where we take a look at an old tier 1 deck, give it 3 imaginary support cards, and see if these cards are enough to make it a viable strategy again for a current metagame. And today we're taking a look at a very old deck, and you guys suggested it, so we're going to do it. So we're taking a look at Gladiator Beast. Now, this is an interesting one because this deck did get really good support a couple of years ago that was able to basically revive the strategy due to being completely unplayable since the battle phase tag out strategy was just super outdated for the current metagame. It was just not a good way to play the deck anymore. So Konami did try to completely change the strategy's playstyle, and they succeeded. They made a deck that being able to put up negates, being able to go second, and get some of their monsters on the field without even relying on their tag out effects. So now the deck needs is to be able to back that up because it has a decent way of playing. It's still not consistent enough and not resilient enough in order to be able to do what it wants to do. So with these 3 cards right here, I'm going to try to reinforce that strategy that Konami thought of to be able to play the deck, and I think that with these 3 cards, this deck could potentially become a tier 1 deck because the deck does have the tools to go first and second, make really good boards and break boards as well. So I think the deck with the right support, it can become a really good deck. So before we begin with the video, if you enjoyed, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our upcoming content, and now let's get to the video. Now the first card is a monster. We're going to call that Test Lion. It's a level 4 Earth Beast with 1500 attack and 1000 defense. This card is always treated as a Gladiator Beast card. If you control a face-up Gladiator Beast monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, and you can tribute this card, special summon 1 Gladiator Beast monster from your deck, and you can only use each effect Test Lion once per turn. Now, the reason I made it always be treated as a Gladiator Beast card is, of course, because if you summon something with a second effect, and you will be able to use its effect. If it's not a Gladiator Beast card, you are not going to trigger that special summon monster's effect. If it was like old Test Tiger, which nobody plays anymore, unfortunately, which was a really good card, but it's just not worth enough. So what I'm trying to do is basically replace that with a better monster. A monster that has the same way of special summoning itself on the field, but it doesn't take a lot out of you in order to get that monster from the deck, and also triggering that monster's effect, which you'll be able to do a lot because Test Tiger required you to shuffle the other monster back into the deck as well. So you were basically negging one for an effect, but this card is just much better. And if you don't have anything in your hand, you can, worst case scenario, normal summon this, tribute it, and special summon a Gladiator Beast monster. You don't have to have anything else. So it's a lot more versatile and it gives you more options. So I think this card is a step towards the right direction of being able to extend through hand traps and other stuff, because that's what the deck really needs right now. It does have a way to play, it does have a game plan in mind. Now the tricky thing is to get to that point without being interrupted, especially in a format which these days we play so many hand traps in every single deck, so we have to be able to play around that in order to be able to do stuff, and this is one of those cards that helps you do that. I'm going to give it even more regarding that, but next let's give it something that is going to make the end board better, because if you know about Gladiator Beasts these days, what they do is summon Tamer Editor and use its effect to summon fusion monsters. But after you do that, Tamer Editor just sits there, and the only thing you can accomplish with it is if it survives, then you can special summon another one during the next turn, but that doesn't give you too much. So what I'm trying to do with the next monster is make Tamer Editor more useful towards the end board. So this is a fusion monster that's called Gladiator Beast Tamer Ultimus. It's a level 8 monster, Dark Beast Warrior with 2800 attack and 2400 defense. And its effect reads that must be first special summoned from your extra deck by returning a face-up Gladiator Beast fusion monster you control to the extra deck, and you do not use polymerization. As a quick effect, you can banish a Gladiator Beast monster from your graveyard, target one card your opponent controls, banish it. This effect is once per turn, and at the end of the battle phase, if this card battled, you can return this to the extra deck and special summon 2 Gladiator Beast monsters from your deck. Now, the summoning condition is just to make sure that Editor has some more use than just his own effect. So you can put him back into the extra deck, so you can potentially play even only 1, so you can make more free space because people play 2 right now, but if you return to the extra deck, you don't need to play extra copies. And then with this card, you also get an extra interruption, which is good going second as well by banishing cards, and it's a quick effect, and it also has the tag out effect, which is something that Gladiator Beasts have still. They don't just use as often as they used to just because it's a battle related effect, but if you get into the grind game, even now, you're going to be able to use these effects a lot. If your opponent tries to break your board or play through the negates and try to make a board of their own, you're going to enter the game state where you will be able to use these effects, and special summoning Gladiator Beast monsters from your deck is very crucial at that point. So this is why I gave the battle phase effect as well, and because I just wanted to make it a little bit more towards the actual Gladiator Beast strategy, because I'm trying to reinforce not only the new strategy but also the old way of playing the deck, which is still in the deck, it's just that you don't really need to use it anymore to play. This is what made the deck viable again, because if it was a fully reliant on this strategy like before, then it was not going to be able playable. So yeah, this card just makes the deck a little more resilient, and the end board usually consists of Seymour as well. So this card, even if your opponent can play around the redirection battling effect, this is a card that can protect the barrier statue as well potentially, so you can lock your opponent out of the game completely. So we they have more ways of playing, and I think this card is a really good monster to make use of a fusion monster that stays on the field and basically does nothing until you get your turn back. Now, the last card is a way to make sure that your plays resolve even more, because if you've seen deck lists of Gladiator Beasts recently, some people even play cards like Eagle Booster to make sure Test Panther resolves, which I think this shows exactly how much important such a card is, because if Test Panther does not resolve and gets negated, you basically lose the entire turn, you can't do much. So this next card is going to make sure that you can do that, and you won't rely on cards like Eagle Booster in order to do something like that. So this is a quick play spell card that's called Gladiator Beast's Veil, and it reads as following. Target one face-up Gladiator Beast or test monster you control. It is unaffected by your opponent's card effects until the end of this turn. If a face-up Gladiator Beast monster or test monster you control would be destroyed, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. Now, I don't think I need to put a once per turn in a card like this. It doesn't do something completely busted, it just trades 1-for-1 with a hand trap or maybe a going second effect, and it does have another following effect in the grave that can be useful, like Return of the Dragon Lords. And this is what the deck actually needs, not only for the new strategy but for the old strategy as well. So let me explain. The first effect is mainly to make sure your Test Panther resolves. That's basically it. If it gets hand trapped, you lose. So a card like this can help you do that. And sometimes you try to extend through combos by using cards like Unexpected Die, then maybe Rescue Rabbit and other cards. So the problem with Eagle Booster is that in order to be able to activate that, you don't have any monsters in the main monster zone. But if you try to special summon a lot of monsters, maybe bait negates and they don't get negated or something like that, or your opponent knows what they're doing and they're keeping this one hand trap they have for Test Panther, if you leave maybe like an Andal in the main monster zone, you will not be able to use Test Panther. You won't be able to use Test Panther if it gets negated because you won't be able to protect it with Eagle Booster. This card basically does the same thing, but it doesn't have the condition to have no monsters in the main monster zone, so you can use it whenever you want. And also the second effect, as important as it seems to be able to protect your board from distraction, it's also important during the grind game, because try to remember how the deck used to play, with cards that could be able to make sure your Gladiator Beast would battle and they would not get destroyed. So the second effect basically does that. You protect your monsters when they battle, and then you can tag them out. So it also has that use on top of being able to protect your end board from cards like Lightning Storm or other stuff like that. So I think being able to play the deck old school way and new school way in the same type of deck is what I'm trying to do here, which is why I gave this also the protection effect in the graveyard. I think that a lot of people maybe enjoy playing the deck more of an old way, even though they know it is not as optimal. So I'm just trying to make sure that this strategy becomes more viable on top of the new strategy that Konami thought of the deck, because they completely changed the deck's playstyle. It has nothing to do with the old playstyle, except you go into a super grindy game. That's when you start playing the deck like you used to. But still, I think that the deck right now, with the current strategy that it has and the current playstyle, is good enough to compete. It just needs just a little bit more in order to be able to play around hand traps, play around interruptions going second, and also make the board a little bit better, because even if you have the barrier statue and your usual stuff, it's just not enough sometimes. So the fusion monster is going to help with your end board and also going second, because it's a quick effect that you can use during your own turn as well, banish cards. The Test Lion is going to help you extend through plays, get your monsters that you need from the deck, maybe an Augustus, then you can just summon a monster from your hand, or maybe an Atorix, whatever you want. And the spell card mainly to make sure that your Test Panther resolves or any other effect that you want, and then the Grave effect to make your boards more resilient and also make your Gladiator Beast's battle related effect more easy to resolve during the grind game. So yep, these are the cards, guys. Tell me what you think of those cards. Do you think that with these three cards, Gladiator Beasts would be able to come a tier 1 deck again? If you have any other ideas for any other cards that might be possible to come out and support the deck in a good way, leave them in the comments down below. And who knows, maybe Konami is watching and they're taking ideas for future support for their own upcoming products. So yep, that's the video, guys. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our upcoming content, and we'll see you next time.